over the night, the rain came in really hard, and when I woke up in the morning, it was just damp and gross and spitting rain constantly with really strong winds, and every now and then rain had come in really strong again. So I just hung out in the camper for a while. This campground seemed like most everybody else was just hiding from the rain too, and nobody came along to ask me what I was doing there. I didn't have to pay to be there. Um, I just got led there last night by the park employee from over at the beach who told me, like, I can't park there, but I can park over here. But that definitely looked like a campsite that people had to pay to be at in some way or another. I got lucky. So, yeah, we hung out until afternoon, me and the kitty just being lazy and hiding from the rain, and then it let up for a little bit, so I decided to hit the road, and uh, wasn't really planning on it, but we made it all the way to North Sydney by the time the rain really started hard again. It was off and on, really, and so foggy in some spots, just made the up and down windy roads even more exciting. But with how stormy it was, I didn't really get to see the scenery as well today as I have past couple days. Lots of distant mountains were just completely obscured by the fog. Though getting to see them that way is just another aspect of it. It's such a different climate altogether than I'm used to out here. Makes me think of what, I don't know, Norway would be like, or Scotland, I guess, is the best comparison. But I've been thinking about just the other North Atlantic sort of islands, Greenland and Iceland. I would love to check them out one day. I had someone tell me before that there's a ferry you can take from Newfoundland over to Greenland, and I think they're giving me a line. Uh, I don't believe it. I haven't been able to find anything about it online, and I don't have a passport anyways, so I need to stop thinking about that. But from what people have told me about Newfoundland, though, it is as rugged a place as Iceland or Greenland in its own way. Just someone told me Cape Breton is kind of halfway between the mainland and Newfoundland for its ruggedness, and I think I'm starting to understand what they mean. I'm excited to find out for myself, but it was strange seeing at the hiking trail yesterday, Micah Hill there, where there was no trees and it was just stunted growth all around. I'm excited to see some of that in Newfoundland, in the large rocky areas that just go on forever. So, yeah, driving through the fog wasn't so great. Couldn't see too much scenery, but then it would open up every now and then to some fresh air, and the views are just unbelievable here. The road at this point took such a strange downhill S-bend corkscrew sort of curve here, back and forth, and such a strong downhill grade. I had the truck in second gear, just on the brake and using the engine to brake too, and putting along as slow as I could, and still those corners are they're they're fun to try and handle, especially with the wet road. I really had to just take my time because spinning out on something like this would be a disaster. Yeah, there's lots of signs to tell you slow down, and it's exhilarating. Who would have thought going that slow would be that exhilarating? But it is. Taking these winding curves through the hills and valleys, it's a great trip. I can recommend it to anyone who'd want to take it. Yeah, and I was stuck behind this camper for a while. He was just putting along, so I just let them set the pace and took my time because if I kept back far enough from them, the spray from their truck wouldn't fog out my camera, which happened quite a number of times on the trip. I pulled over a few times to clean the camera off. I'm amazed that the little webcam that I'm using on the front of the truck is surviving so good in all the rain. It's not meant for it. The GoPro at least was waterproof and it was meant for taking like action photography. But this little webcam that I've got on the front of the truck is meant for having on a desk in an office or something. It's definitely not meant for this kind of heavy use, but it's holding up to it like a champ. It gets fogged out pretty easily just from a light rain, but makes editing easier. I can cut out large chunks because they're unusable. So as I'm talking to you from Wednesday night, I'm looking at a lot of rainy weather in the near future, no matter where I go, and have been looking up what to do about which ferry ride to take out of North Sydney Harbour here over to Newfoundland. Whether I want to take the short ride that goes to Channel Port aux Basques, or if I want to take the long ride that goes over to Argentia near St. John, the capital. Because I know that I want to go to St. John and go to the most eastern point of the country that I can get to. But taking the ferry over to St. John there would cost a good $200 more than taking the shorter ride to the south tip of Newfoundland Channel, Port aux Basques. But then I looked into how far it was to drive across Newfoundland, and it'll cost about the same amount in gas as it would cost extra to take the ferry. So I'm gonna take the shorter ferry ride and do the extra driving, because then either way I'm gonna backtrack then up to the northernmost tip of Newfoundland and take the ferry from there over to Labrador. So it'll be a great big back and forth trip, I guess, which I'd rather do than pay way more for the ferry ride and not get to drive as much. So I'll be getting on a ferry at some point here soon. Not sure when. Probably tomorrow, to be honest with myself, or maybe the next day. This rainy weather makes me not want to get out and do too much. But the show must go on.